Welcome back to Wake Up America. So DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and border czar Tom Homan are accusing the FBI of being, quote, corrupt and leaking plans for a large-scale ICE raid in L.A.
Now, border czar Tom Homan says the Department of Justice is carrying out an investigation, and whoever is exposed as the leaker will be fired, lose their pensions, and be thrown into jail. Joining us now for more is border czar Tom Homan. Good morning, Tom. I know Washington, look, it leaks more than the Titanic. But this isn't a policy disagreement or details about a policy. Leaking information like this, I mean, it's like leaking military planning.
Well, it absolutely is. Look, and look, I've been on several of these operations, the men and women of the FBI. They're great patriots, and they're out there helping us to take public safety threats off the street. But we've already found one leak, and that's being dealt with by DHS IG. And it wasn't FBI, but it was somebody within DHS. Secretary Noem, she said that the second leak appears to be someone in the FBI. Stuff that I've seen leads us to believe it's FBI. I've talked to the Deputy Attorney General. He's opened up a criminal investigation. We'll hold that person responsible. You know, I don't care what the political beliefs are. I don't care if they think they're doing the right thing by, you know, arresting public safety threats that are here illegally. The thing is, though, when they leak this information, it puts officers at great risk. It's only a matter of time before officers get ambushed by someone that just don't care. And they'll be waiting for ICE agents and DEA and FBI agents walk into that building and get ambushed. So this is not a joke. And when we find out who this is and we can prove who it is, they'll be criminally investigated and prosecuted. And I have no regrets to that. They need to be held criminally responsible for this.
I want to ask you about this report that came out yesterday. So DOJ says last week, $59 million was sent to hotels housing illegal migrants in New York. This as you were carrying out deportations in New York. The federal government was still paying to house the same illegal migrants. What do you make of this? What's your message to these sanctuary cities who are harboring and hiding illegal migrants still?
Well, that's been dealt with very quickly. Secretary Noem took immediate action, and she said she's going to fire the person that, you know, they actually cut that check. That, you know, either the messages didn't get to that person, they did it anyways. I don't know. Again, that would be investigated. But Secretary Noem stopped that payment. That payment's no longer good. The money's been pulled back, and she said she's going to fire the person responsible, and she should. We need to show the men and women that this administration is working differently than the Biden administration. We believe in securing the borders. We don't think we should be lining the pockets of NGOs who've made billions of dollars in the trafficking of illegal aliens in this country. So that funding has stopped across the board. Someone cut a check. They're being held responsible. They'll lose their job. We're sending a strong message. Those days are over. We're going to secure the border. We're going to keep President Trump's promise on arresting those that are in the country illegally, but with prioritization on those who are public safety threats.
You know, Tom, breaking overnight, the Pope writing a letter to U.S. bishops that your work to forcibly deport people who are in our country illegally purely because of their legal status deprives them of their, quote, inherent dignity, and he says it will end badly, end quote. I mean, what is your response to the pontiff over these remarks?
You know, as a lifelong Catholic, I was baptized Catholic. I had First Communion as Catholic. I was confirmed Catholic. I've been a lifelong Catholic. My family's been lifelong Catholics. You ought to get out of the business of our national security and our border enforcement work and concentrate on the Catholic Church. You got a lot of problems right there in the Catholic Church. You got enough to do. You got enough to fix in your own home. You know, then leave the border stuff to us. We know what we're doing. And here's what he doesn't understand. And plus, he's got a border wall around the Vatican. That's okay. But we can have a border. We can have a wall around the United States. And look, bottom line is, here's what he needs to understand. President Trump has illegal immigration, border crossings down 90%. 90%, which means 90% less people are coming. How many children aren't dying every day in that border? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked across that border? How many women are not being sexually assaulted by members of the cartels? How many known suspected terrorists aren't crossing that border? Under Joe Biden, over 4,000 illegal aliens died crossing the border. Now it's at a record low. We're saving lives. And that's what the Pope ought to be paying attention to if he wants to get in our business. We're saving lives every day. A secure border saves lives. When less fentanyl comes across that border, less Americans die from drug overdoses. Stick to the Catholic Church. Leave border enforcement to us.
Information. truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.